Imagine a morning when the ocean no longer cools the planet. It doesn't storm. It doesn't retreat. It boils, not locally, not somewhere far away, but everywhere at once. Billions of tons of water begin turning into vapor within hours. Massive clouds rise into the atmosphere. Pressure increases, and the delicate balance of Earth's climate collapses. The air becomes dense and saturated with steam. Oxygen levels drop. Breathing becomes harder with every moment. Surface temperatures skyrocket. Ecosystems collapse one after another. Food chains break. The planet enters a state scientists call runaway heating, a point where recovery may no longer be possible. What happens to climate, air, and life itself if the oceans boil within just 24 hours? How much time would humanity have? Hours, minutes, or seconds? And most importantly, what would remain of Earth afterward, if anything remains at all? Watch until the end. The final effect is almost never considered, yet it is the one that ultimately decides the fate of the planet. Oceans cover more than 70% of Earth's surface, but they are not just water. They are the planet's primary thermal regulator, a massive system that has absorbed, stored, and redistributed heat for millions of years. For an ocean to boil, water temperature must exceed its boiling point. But an ocean is not a pot on a stove. It consists of kilometers of depth, enormous pressure, powerful currents, and layered temperatures that normally make rapid heating almost impossible. If the oceans begin boiling within a single day, it means only one thing. Earth has received an unimaginable amount of energy, more than all nuclear explosions in human history combined, more than the impact of a massive asteroid capable of altering climate for millennia. At that point, the problem is no longer the water, and not even the temperature. The real problem is that Earth has stopped being a stable system. The fundamental energy balance that sustained life has been broken. The question is, where did this energy come from? The answer no longer matters. At this scale, the consequences would be equally catastrophic, regardless of the cause. The moment ocean surfaces reach extreme temperatures, rapid evaporation begins. This is not mist, not steam rising gently above the water. It is a global release of water vapor into the atmosphere, happening simultaneously across all oceans on Earth. The sky darkens, not from clouds, but from a dense suspension of water vapor. Sunlight scatters and nearly disappears. Day turns into a dim gray twilight. The air becomes heavy, sticky, saturated with moisture to its absolute limit. Humidity reaches critical levels. The human body loses its ability to cool itself. Sweat no longer evaporates. It simply coats the skin. Even at temperatures once considered survivable, the body begins to overheat. This is known as the wet bulb effect, the point at which human physiology fails. Heat can no longer escape. Organs begin to shut down. The body effectively cooks itself from the inside. Even healthy people die, not from heat alone, but from the inability to release it. How long do you think a human could survive in such an atmosphere? Hours, minutes, or far less than you expect? At this scale, the consequences would be equally catastrophic, regardless of the cause. Marine life dies first, and almost instantly. The ocean is the foundation of Earth's biosphere, and it becomes its grave. Extreme heat destroys organisms that evolved over millions of years within a narrow temperature range. Phytoplankton, microscopic organisms responsible for over half of Earth's oxygen production, cannot survive the heat. They cannot adapt, cannot migrate deeper, cannot escape. Mass die-off begins within hours. With them, the entire marine food chain collapses. Zooplankton disappears. Fish suffocate. Coral reefs bleach and die. Mollusks and crustaceans perish from heat and chemical imbalance. The ocean ecosystem does not slowly fail. It ceases to exist. One thing is crucial to understand. Oxygen on Earth does not come only from forests and land plants. It comes primarily from the ocean. When the ocean dies, the atmosphere begins to change. And this is no longer an environmental issue. It is the beginning of the planet's inability to breathe. Water vapor is a powerful greenhouse gas. It is stronger than carbon dioxide. The more vapor there is, the more heat is retained. The higher the temperature, the faster the oceans continue to evaporate. It's a vicious cycle. The planet is accelerating itself. Acid rain begins. It corrodes the soil, plants, and buildings. Cities turn into ruins faster than people can leave them. The air becomes toxic. It becomes more and more difficult to breathe. And here the question arises, can we just go underground? Bunkers, underground bases, the subway. Sounds logical, but there's a problem: oxygen. Without the ocean, its levels begin to drop, slowly but surely. Power plants fail, energy systems collapse, generators run as long as there is fuel. And then, silence. Even if someone survives the first few days, it's not a question of survival. It's a question of delaying the end. Without oceans, currents disappear. No Gulf Stream, no monsoons, no familiar weather patterns humanity has relied on for thousands of years. Heat is no longer redistributed across the planet. Some regions overheat to extreme levels, becoming zones of constant, unbearable heat. Others cool rapidly, cut off from the energy once carried by the oceans. The atmosphere loses stability. Hurricanes never seen in Earth's history begin forming within hours. Air masses collide without regulating systems, and winds reach speeds capable of tearing buildings apart and erasing cities. The planet enters a climatic state for which humans never evolved, and in which familiar methods of survival no longer apply. When most of the water evaporates, the ocean surface is exposed. What remains are vast salt deserts, deep cracks, and a dead seabed that has not seen sunlight for millions of years. Massive amounts of salt are lifted into the atmosphere along with vapor and dust. Winds carry it across continents, where it settles onto the land. Soils become saline, lose their structure, and turn unsuitable for agriculture. Plants die even in regions where temperatures might still allow life. Even if the planet eventually cools, life will not return quickly. Ecosystems are destroyed, water and soil cycles are broken, and recovery would take thousands of years, if recovery is possible at all. Earth is no longer neutral toward life. It becomes hostile by default. Can Earth recover? Theoretically, yes. Practically, not for us. Over time, water vapor could begin to condense. The atmosphere would cool and endless rains would begin. Not for days or months, but for thousands of years, washing over the planet's surface. New oceans could eventually form, but they would be different oceans, with altered chemistry, different composition, and without the ecosystems we know today. The biosphere as we know it would disappear completely. Forests, coral reefs, animals, familiar life cycles, all of it would exist only in Earth's geological memory. New life would start from zero. Bacteria, simple organisms, and millions of years of evolution. And humanity? If anyone survives, it won't be civilizations or nations. It will be traces, scattered, temporary, fading along with the last remnants of technology. Oceans are not just water. They are a shield. They absorb excess heat, smooth out fluctuations, keep the climate within the limits where life is possible. We are used to thinking that Earth is stable, that it will hold, but it is only stable as long as its systems work. The ocean is one of the most important, and if it boils in a single day, it means only one thing. The planet no longer supports life as we know it. It is not punishing. It is simply becoming uninhabitable. The question is no longer whether we will survive, but whether we understood how thin that line really was. Now here's a question for you. If the ocean can destroy the planet in a day, How fragile is our world really? Write in the comments. What do you think will be the end of civilization? Fire, water, or ourselves? And if you want to know a scenario that's even scarier than this, you know what to do.